Welcome to Infinite Universe with interesting episode. Arnold Schwarzenegger had a deep hunger and desire that nothing could stop. He had a fire in his belly that pushed him to succeed. But behind all the fame, muscles, and movies, there was a hidden story that his maid saw unfold day by day. She was there for 20 years. She saw the fights, the lies, and the lonely moments when Maria Shriver wasn't home. She was the most trusted person in their household. But in 2011, she dropped to her knees in front of Maria and confessed a secret she had kept for 14 years. What she said made Maria cry. Instead of firing her, Maria broke down and cried with her. Now, after years of silence, that same maid has spoken out about what Arnold was really like and the heavy truth she had carried alone all those years. Arnold Schwarzenegger's story didn't begin in a glamorous Hollywood mansion. It started in a small village called Thal in Austria. He was born on July 30, 1947. Life at home was hard. His father, Gustav, was a police chief and a former Nazi who ruled the house with strict discipline and fear. Arnold's older brother, Meinhard, was the favorite. Arnold was often mocked, beaten, and made to feel like he didn't belong. Gustav even doubted that Arnold was his real son. Their mother, Aurelia, had to beg for food to feed the family. They lived on very little. Arnold later admitted that the house was full of tension. It was so bad that he didn't even go to his father's funeral in 1972 or his brother's, who had died in a drunk driving accident in 1971. These painful childhood memories shaped Arnold's character. They made him strong but also gave him a deep need for power and control. At age 15, he found a way to escape: weight training. He didn't just enjoy it, he became obsessed. Inspired by bodybuilders like Reg Park and Steve Reeves, he joined a gym in Graz. He trained 6 days a week, even sneaking in when the gym was closed. He tracked every set, pushed harder than anyone else, and dedicated himself completely. While most teens were out socializing, Arnold was in the gym for 3 hours a day, doing up to 20 sets per body part. Friends warned him he was going too far, but he didn't care. If they told him he was hurting his health, he would train even harder just to prove them wrong. In 1965, during his mandatory military service, he went absent without leave just to compete in the Mr. Europe contest. He won, but was arrested and spent a week in military prison. That experience only made it clearer that nothing would get in his way. At age 20, Arnold became the youngest person to win the Mr. Universe title. He beat his childhood hero, Reg Park. That win brought him to tears. It was proof that all his hard work was worth it. Over the next few years, he won 4 Mr. Universe titles and 7 Mr. Olympia championships. From 1965 to 1980, he won 19 major bodybuilding competitions. Even when he lost, like to Frank Zane in 1968, he didn't quit. Instead, he invited Zane to train with him not as a friend, but as a way to learn his techniques. It was all strategy. In 1980, Arnold surprised everyone by entering the Mr. Olympia contest again while filming Conan the Barbarian. He won, even though many believed he didn't deserve it that year. But Arnold had learned how to shape the system to his advantage. That ability became part of his personality, both in his career and personal life. In 1968, Arnold moved to California. He was only 21. Most immigrants tried to fit in, but not Arnold. He kept his thick Austrian accent, even when Hollywood agents told him to get rid of it. One producer even renamed him Arnold Strong because they thought no one could pronounce Schwarzenegger. But Arnold believed the accent made him stand out. He also went to the University of Wisconsin and got a degree in marketing. In 1983, he became a U.S. citizen. Every move he made was carefully planned. His 1986 marriage to Maria Shriver wasn't just a love story. Maria was a respected journalist and part of the Kennedy family. She brought him connections, political credibility, and public respect. Arnold was always thinking 10 steps ahead. But his love life was full of secrets. Before Maria, he had a serious relationship with Barbara Outland Baker. They met in 1969 and lived together for over 3 years in Santa Monica. Their first date was watching the Apollo moon landing. They had simple, happy days with beach outings and backyard barbecues. But Arnold was cheating on her. She didn't find out until after they broke up in 1974. Years later, Barbara wrote a memoir that revealed everything. She said Arnold smoked marijuana, watched porn, and grew cold and arrogant as he became more famous. She described him as emotionless and self-centered. Arnold later admitted they weren't right for each other. She wanted a stable life, but he wanted greatness, even if it meant hurting others. In 1982, Arnold starred in Conan the Barbarian and became a full-fledged action star. He trained endlessly, and the studio spent $10,000 each on 2 custom-made swords just for him. He did most of his own stunts. Filming lasted 5 months in Spain, and crew members noticed how obsessed he was with perfection. He didn't just act in the film, he controlled the entire atmosphere. Then came The Terminator in 1984, which made Arnold a global star. He was originally going to play the hero, but after bonding with director James Cameron, he convinced him to let him play the villain. It was a strange choice, but it worked. The film cost just $6.4 million and earned $78.3 million. Arnold turned the emotionless cyborg into a part of his real-life image. He was always in control, calm, and thinking ahead. Even before all this, Arnold had been thinking about his future in America. In 1977, he attended the Robert F. Kennedy Memorial Tennis Tournament, even though he didn't play tennis. He went because Eunice Kennedy Shriver invited him, and he knew exactly who her daughter was, Maria Shriver. Maria was a 21-year-old journalist from one of the most powerful families in the US. Arnold was 30. When Eunice told Arnold that Maria liked him, he said something foolish, "Your daughter has a really nice ass." He later admitted it was a stupid thing to say. But Maria wasn't scared off. That night, she and her cousin invited him to spend time with them in Hyannis Port. That was the beginning of a relationship that would tie him to the Kennedy legacy. They married on April 26, 1986, in Massachusetts. The wedding was held at a Catholic church and attended by famous politicians and celebrities. For Arnold, marrying Maria was about more than love. It gave him entry into one of America's most respected political families. Her father, Sergeant Shriver, and her mother, Eunice Kennedy Shriver, were highly respected. That made Maria the niece of President John F. Kennedy. Arnold, a conservative Republican from Austria, now had deep ties to a major Democratic family. Even Senator Ted Kennedy joked about how welcoming the family was. This marriage gave Arnold political legitimacy. It wasn't just for show. When he later ran for governor of California, people like Uncle Ted Kennedy gave him advice. Arnold and Maria had 4 children, Catherine, Christina, Patrick, and Christopher. They built a life together that looked like a fairy tale from the outside. But inside, there was conflict. Arnold's traditional views often clashed with the progressive ideals of Maria's family. They were married for 25 years and built a fortune together. When they separated in 2011, they had a combined net worth of $400 million. Arnold had earned most of it himself, around $300 million. He started by using his bodybuilding earnings and money from a mail-order business to buy a $10,000 apartment building. Then came the Hollywood hits. He earned millions from each film. He joined with stars like Sylvester Stallone, Bruce Willis, and Demi Moore to launch the Planet Hollywood restaurant chain. He also invested in real estate, co-owning a shopping mall in Ohio. He bought a share in Dimensional Fund Advisors, a big investment firm, and started the Arnold Sports Festival in 1989. It became one of the largest fitness events in the world. Then came Mildred Patty Baena. She wasn't just a housekeeper. She started working in Arnold and Maria's home in the early 1990s and stayed for about 20 years. Over time, she gained more trust than any other staff member. She had access to private areas, drove the family car, ran errands, and even joined in on family events. People around them noticed how close she and Arnold had become. Some even suspected something more. But no one could have guessed what was really going on. While Patty was working in their home, she was carrying a huge secret, one that would eventually destroy the Schwarzenegger family as the world knew it. She was once married to a Colombian businessman named Rogelio Baena. They tied the knot back in 1987, but by the time her son Joseph was born in October 1997, their relationship was already falling apart. Even though they had separated around that time, Rogelio's name still appeared on Joseph's birth certificate. It was strange and confusing, but there was a hidden reason behind it. Rogelio had just found out about her affair with someone else, a man far more famous than him. That man was Arnold Schwarzenegger. Even with that shocking discovery, the divorce didn't happen right away. In fact, it dragged on for years. It wasn't until 2008 that they officially filed for divorce, and the legal paperwork wasn't finalized until 2012. That means they were separated for 11 years, and it took another 4 years to completely end the marriage. During all that time, Mildred Baena, who had worked as a housekeeper, remained in the Schwarzenegger home. She continued working, kept showing up every day, taking care of the household, and blending into the background of Arnold's glamorous life. But behind that quiet presence was a secret that would eventually shake the entire Schwarzenegger family. To keep the secret hidden, she told different stories about who Joseph's father really was. Some neighbors thought her then-boyfriend, Alex Aguiar, was the father. That wasn't true. It was just another lie to cover up the bigger truth. The truth was that Arnold was Joseph's real father. But Arnold's behavior with the staff had always been suspicious. According to some people who worked with him, this wasn't a one-time incident. They said he often acted inappropriately, made rude comments on set, and crossed lines, especially when Maria Shriver, his wife, wasn't around. People close to the situation said that Arnold acted like he could get away with anything. And for a long time, he did. Maria had suspicions that Arnold had been unfaithful, and she even believed he may have cheated with a few staff members. But strangely, she never thought Mildred Baena was one of them. When she started feeling uncomfortable about certain staff members, those people would suddenly be let go. It was like there was an unspoken system in place to protect Arnold and make sure his secrets never saw the light of day. Mildred, on the other hand, was in a fragile situation. She was an immigrant from Guatemala working a job she desperately needed to support her family. Arnold was not just her boss, he was a powerful movie star and the future governor of California. The power difference between them was overwhelming. Saying no was not easy. Their affair didn't just happen randomly. It took place when Maria and the children were away, a time when the house was quiet and empty. Mildred later said that it only happened a few times, and that she believed she had feelings for him. But the truth was more complicated. It wasn't just affection, it was the emotional trap that can happen when one person has all the control in a relationship. Mildred wasn't just a worker in the house. She went on family vacations with them, helped celebrate birthdays, spent holidays with them, and was there during arguments and family moments. She saw everything. Even after Joseph was born, she didn't leave. She stayed for over 13 years. She helped raise Arnold and Maria's children, while also secretly raising the child she had with Arnold. And Maria had no idea. She would often cry to Mildred about Arnold's infidelity, completely unaware that the woman comforting her was the same one who had secretly had a child with her husband. Mildred would try to console Maria and say, "This is just who Arnold is." The lines had blurred so much that the person causing the pain was also the one offering comfort. Their affair began in 1996. It wasn't a spur-of-the-moment mistake. Arnold waited until the house was empty and the family was away. That wasn't coincidence, it was planned. He later called it the worst thing he had ever done. But this wasn't just a bad decision. It was a betrayal that involved planning, deception, and a calculated use of trust. In 1997, Arnold's life looked perfect from the outside. On September 27th, he and Maria welcomed their son Christopher into the world. Just 5 days later, on October 2nd, Mildred gave birth to Joseph. Arnold was the father of both babies. The timing was painful and cruel. Maria was still recovering from childbirth, still celebrating the arrival of her son, while Arnold knew that another child, his child, had just been born to another woman under the same roof. And yet, he stayed silent. He didn't tell anyone. That silence lasted for more than a decade. For 14 years, this secret remained hidden. Arnold smiled for the cameras, talked about family values, and gave interviews about being a good father. But behind the scenes, he was juggling two separate lives, one public, one hidden. While celebrating Christopher's birthday and attending family events, he was also secretly providing financial support to Mildred and Joseph. He paid for their living expenses, school fees, and other costs. It's likely he used separate accounts so that no one would notice. This wasn't a one-time mistake. It became a hidden lifestyle. For 14 years, Arnold managed to keep both families apart. But as Joseph got older, Arnold found it harder to ignore him. Joseph's face, energy, and personality reminded him more and more of himself. It was like watching a younger version of himself grow up, but being unable to acknowledge it. The guilt started to build, day by day, year after year. Joseph would visit the house with Mildred, and Arnold would act like he was just the housekeeper's son. But deep down, he knew the truth. That silent relationship became emotional torture. By the time Joseph turned 7 or 8, the resemblance was undeniable. Even Arnold couldn't lie to himself anymore. That's when everything started to shift. Arnold tried to stay calm and act like nothing was wrong, but it was getting harder. The more Joseph grew, the more he looked like Arnold. Behind closed doors, Arnold increased the money he sent to Mildred, always making sure it didn't raise suspicions. Every visit, every word, had to be carefully controlled. Then, in the summer of 2010, the truth started to catch up with him. Joseph, now 13, was spending more time than usual at the Schwarzenegger home. People began to notice how much he looked like Arnold, the way he smiled, walked, even his jawline. It wasn't just quiet whispers anymore. The staff started to talk. Even Maria began hearing the rumors. The atmosphere in the house grew tense. Maria, who had trusted Mildred for 20 years, couldn't ignore it any longer. She finally asked the one question that had been haunting her: was Joseph Arnold's son? Mildred didn't lie. She didn't fight or deny it. She broke down. She dropped to her knees and cried, saying, "Yes, he is. And I'm so sorry." For 13 years, she had kept that truth inside. She had worked in the same house, watched her son grow up around his father, and said nothing. Now, the truth exploded out of her. Maria stood there in shock, listening to a confession that would change her life forever. But what Maria did next was unexpected. She didn't scream. She didn't throw Mildred out. Instead, she knelt beside her. She cried with her. She told her to stand up. And when Mildred offered to leave, Maria asked her to stay, at least through the holidays. It was an incredible moment. Maria had every reason to be angry, to lash out, to seek revenge. But she responded with kindness. Even Mildred didn't expect it. After the initial shock, Maria didn't confront Arnold right away. She waited. She didn't want to cause a media storm while he was still governor. Instead, she waited until January 4, 2011, the day after his term ended. Then she brought it up, not in private, but during couples therapy. She let the therapist ask the question: "Did you father a child with your housekeeper?" Arnold was stunned. He later said he felt like his heart stopped. He was caught off guard, cornered by the truth. It had finally come out after 15 years of silence. Even then, Maria didn't go to the press. She didn't destroy his reputation. She kept it all calm for the sake of their 4 children, and even for Joseph. She never spoke badly about him. She never used him to hurt Arnold. Arnold himself admitted that if there were awards for how to handle a divorce, Maria deserved one. Their marriage officially ended in 2011, but the divorce took 10 more years to finalize. Most celebrity divorces take 2 or 3 years. Theirs lasted until 2021. The reason? A $400 million fortune, years of shared assets, and an emotional history that was too heavy to rush through. By the time it ended, all 4 children were adults, so there were no custody fights. Just 2 people slowly closing a painful chapter of their lives. But in the middle of that pain, something unexpected happened. Arnold and Joseph slowly started to build a relationship. It wasn't easy at first. Joseph admitted that it took time for them to feel close. But what helped was fitness. Arnold guided him through workouts, helped him build strength and confidence. Joseph had once been cut from school sports teams, but with Arnold's help, he transformed. He became strong, self-assured, and more like his father than ever. They started spending more time together. Arnold wanted to know everything about his son's life, from his challenges to his dating life. They were even seen biking together in Toronto while Arnold was filming a Netflix series. Joseph appreciated the bond, but he chose to keep his mother's last name. He wanted to make his own way. Arnold, now older and more reflective, finally spoke about it in a 2023 Netflix documentary. He said, "I'm going to have to live with it for the rest of my life." He didn't make excuses. He admitted the damage was done. He was no longer the action hero or the powerful governor, he was a man who had made a huge mistake and had to carry its weight forever. Thanks for watching. Keep it and stay tuned. Like and subscribe our channel. Have a good day.